Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of On Point. Obviously, another exciting week. We are going to be discussing current events in Liberia. With me is my brother and co-host, Mr. George Tulay from Canada. I know he's having a great time. Mr. Tulay, how are you doing there, sir?
I'm doing fine, brother. Everything is okay by the grace of God. So we are happy to be here for another edition of On Point, and we're grateful to those who always take the time out to hang out with us. It's going to be a nice time this evening. We want you to share the video and encourage people so as they're relaxing at home, they can participate and listening. It's going to be a nice discussion. Welcome.
Thank you very much. And let's go to the topic that will be discussed today. Let me introduce the topics, and then we can go ahead and kind of chime in. I know today the topic today doesn't look well for you because as a member of the CPP, it's kind of rough, but it's all right. So let's go into the topics here. We want to know, based on what we are seeing here, are we seeing the rise and fall of the ANC? That is a question that many people are asking. When President we are in the CDC came, people were talking about we needed a change, we needed a new group of folks, we needed basically the intelligentsia class to come back and rescue Liberia, hence the rise of the CPP. Now here we are. Are we actually seeing the fall of the ANC? Is this the final demise of the ANC? That is what some are asking. And then the second topic is going to be, is Monrovia the dirtiest city as being discussed on the local level, on the international level? Do we have data to back up our claim, or does the European Union president the ambassador has data to back up what he was saying, or he was saying it from emotion? That's number two. Number three, we are going to be looking at the fight that is going on. Is this a reflection on Mr. Cummings or the reflection on the entire CPP? Is this a personal issue, or this is the issue of the entire establishment of the CPP? Mr. Tulay, how do we get here? Or is this what the future of CPP looks like? I know you are a member, or by an extension, since you are a due-paying member and I guess a founding member of the Liberty Party, you are basically stuck with this CPP framework, if there's any. Is this the future of the CPP? Is this the change that you are talking about? So let's go back to the beginning, the rise and falls of the ANC. What do you know about the ANC?
The ANC is not falling anywhere. The ANC is not falling anywhere. The ANC is a political party. The CPP is not a political party. The CPP is a coalition. It's a collaboration of political parties. The ANC not falling anywhere. The ANC came out of CDC. Did the CDC fall, or did the ANC fall up to now? No. Like I've said previously, hiccups are part of any human development. Is expected. When babies are born and the every step of the developmental stage, the cognitive developmental stage of a child, they are faced with challenges, and those challenges can be real at times. Every parent will be afraid for the first time their child takes a step, because you know what, the end of that step is a what? Is a fall. You know. So, and you're scared. Maybe he will knock his head. There are objects around like furniture that he could hit his head, or she could hit her head on. And these are realistic issues. What I'm saying here is what we are seeing in the CPP, what we are seeing relative ANC. If you now the question is, there are many sides. Everyone is giving an explanation of what they think is a reality. I have the findings, the report It was sent to me by my good friend Samuel Jackson. And I mean, as troubling as these issues are not terminal. They are not issues that should cause people to break alliances and burn bridges, because human beings will make mistakes. Are people to be held accountable when they make mistakes? Yes. Are they to be told that, hey, you blunder in this instance, or what you did was is unacceptable? Yes. But is it enough to say, because of this, to your tent, O Israel, we don't want to have anything to do with you going forward? No. Let me say this before you come in, Mr. Gayman. One of the most important things that need to happen here is for cooler heads and saner heads to prevail, and the overarching need, the overarching picture, the overarching ideology, the overarching vision should prevail. Okay? So for me, I'm telling you today that the CPP is well. All these things are not birth, they are growing issues. They have to be inked out, they have to be reasoned out, they have to be resolved so that the CPP can stand. When these things, that everyone will know where they really are. That's just the reality here. So this is what we are going through. It's not, there's no deaf news sounding here that Cummings says what was political career is over because he doctor or document or whatever. No, nothing like that. So the ANC still stands, if you ask me.
Okay, but what I want you to address is, if you have any idea, how did the ANC come into being? You mentioned that they came out of the CDC. How did the ANC come to be? How
Oh,
do they have? Is there any similarity between how the ANC came to be and how the CPP came into being?
no, not really. The two are different things. ANC is a brick away. There were original founding members, founding ideologues that were part of the CDC convergence, because CDC is not just wasn't just one political party from one place. There were guys in America aligning. In fact, the whole CDC framework, the whole CDC mentality came from America, not even from Liberia. There were guys that came along with what's his name, came along, and they made Weah who he is. They selected Weah as their leader. They made him who he is, because they found that is the way to the shortest path to glory was to pick a populist. Well, along the way, a lot of them had issues with Weah, because we all know Weah is a deeply flawed person in terms of his relationship with people. It has to be his way, or there's no way. I know from the footballing days, there were kids that were very good who could not feature with Lone Star, who had problems because they challenged him. And that's who he is. Nobody he doesn't accept divergence. That's just what it is. So there were people who felt like my cousin Cole Bangaloo, who was one of the previous chair of the CDC. A lot of them felt that they had no place there. Okay, it was Weir Way or the highway. So a lot of them left. That's the form. That's how Richard Gordon left and established ANC with what was his name? I think it was, for a moment it was Kwame Clement that they were thinking about. Then Cummings came, and then they saw a powerful figure who could, establish and assert himself in the Liberia political space, and who have money, because you can't do anything politics in Liberia without access to good cash and support. So they felt, so we are where we are today. The CPP framework came about because previously everybody realized that we had a fixed electorate. Has it grown? Yes, it grew. But then when he actually came to power, a lot of people became disillusioned and disaffected, and they left. And so, do they still love CDC? I can tell you most of them are in repudiation of what CDC stands for right now, because they feel that the whole thing about grassroots and all of that is just a scam. It was just a rouse to get their support, but they don't really care about them. because the reality, there were people that who have sustained that grassroots image and the grassroots not only image but the grassroots activism within CDC. But everyone that got office felt they didn't have nothing to do again with the Sycamore tree. So the Sycamore tree basically stood there abandoned. So where we are today with the CPP is a group of political parties, and my political mentor, Councillor Charles Walker Bromsky, was one of the main proponents behind the CPP. He felt that if everyone went to the election and everyone took a vote away, if they even came to the second round against George Weah, there will be disaffection. A lot of the people who will stand with the individual parties, their members will not want to be a part of the anything again because they like Kumi lose the election. Same as Kumi lost, I don't want to have anything to do with the round two. So the man who's an incumbent, the man who has all the machinery behind him, might end up just remaining in power. So the whole sense came about before. If we want to really challenge this man, because he's not doing a good job, we have to come together. Now you're talking about alpha males, people who have created kingdoms on their own. You're talking about them coming together and you're telling them, say, hey, abandon your dream, because at the end of the day, one of you is going to be qualified. How are we going to select that one person who's going to be qualified? These are all the issues we are talking about. It's not an easy thing to accomplish. So we are where we are.
Okay, well, let's look at what the Seditian, or since the Seditian are the most successful political marriage in the history of the Republic of Liberia. Let's look at the CPP, and does this idea of coming together and forming a collaborative or forming a political party to go against the establishment or the leading party, do we have a history in this? And Liberian history tells us, yes, we do have a history of forming collaboration, but we have never had a history of forming a successful collaboration. So based on that,
what are the collaborations that were formed in the past, Mr. Gayman?
Okay, let's look at during the Todman era. Did we look at David Coleman and his partnership with other folks that wanted to challenge President Todman?
But is that the same as the
listen to this. Let's look at 1980, 85, 84, 85.
It was after the election that they came together.
No. After 1985, they came together after the election.
Yeah, to challenge the result.
Okay, then what happened to that coalition that came to take on Charles Taylor? Because we know they tried this. We know Mr. Watterson and his group came together and formed a partnership also to take on Charles Taylor, and that never withstood anything. And then in 2005, similar thing happened with Super Wu and these guys. Nothing happened. The only time that we have ever had a winning coalition is by the individual that you are talking about. It's a flawed individual.
Oh, no, he does not
have the leadership skill. He was able to forge together a coalition that happens to have the same nomenclature as the original party. CDC turned over to not Congress for Democratic Change, but a coalition of Democratic Change, and became very successful. What say ye about the brilliance of this man called George Weah and the CDC movement?
Mr. Gayman, the man did nothing to become president. He did absolutely nothing. He created no ideological platform. The man articulated no ideology. The man won nobody over. The man did not even care. The people around him did all the work and he took the glory. The man became senator. The man couldn't even hold one press because when he became senator, he was the leading political candidate, the leading political leader in Liberia, even in the presence of my mentor. Okay, the man was a leading political. He had the biggest political opposition party. The man did not hold one press conference. Let me give you something. When before the man became senator, when the man was even in the private, when the man was just an ordinary citizen, my colleague Darlington Pelena, he was director of news at what's the name of the place at Royal Communications, George Weah Media, purported media empire. Darlington was arrested under false accusation by Madam Salif and George. What's his name? Darlington. His name is Darlington. I forgot his name. He was a henchman of Madam Salif. He framed something up. Some guys went to commit armed robbery at a money changer. When the act occurred and the guys were being pursued, that's when the guy said, "Oh yeah, because Madam Salif had told him previously to find something to catch Darlington on." Darlington doesn't smoke marijuana. Darlington doesn't go to ghetto. Darlington doesn't do anything like that. Let me cut the story short. Darlington was arrested under armed robbery, which is a non-billable offense in Liberia. Darlington was sent to prison, and kept there for 9 months. The guy is the director of news at your media empire. You are in Monrovia. Your news is he never visited Darlington. He never had a press conference to address the issue, to ask the government to look into this issue. Listen, they think this guy is like Donald Trump. It's just other people work that he's just riding on the wave of the actions of others. The coalition, Joe Weah did not decide that he needed a coalition to win. It was McGill and meeting with the former speaker, Tyler. These were the people who formulated these things in the back. This man is not even interested. He's sitting down to fuck out the nuances of a coalition. He doesn't have the patience. The man not into writing and reading. He already told you. So what are you talking here?
So then President Weah is a genius, because usually, as we all know, like Joe Biden here in the United States, he was abandoned. He was left for dead until Jim Claiborne came around in North Carolina and rallied the troops and gave him a major victory in the South and revived Joe Biden. And today Joe Biden is president. Nobody hears anything about Claiborne. Nobody hears anything about the men and women that put this thing together, that brought Biden to power. We give Biden credit because he was able to keep the coalition of the willing and unwilling, the women, the disabled, the Bernie Sanders folks, the Hillary Clinton folks, the Bill Clinton folks, bring them all together. And you want to tell me that he shouldn't get credit, and you say he's not a leader, and then you see, George, we are in a hostile environment where this has never happened successfully. He was able to bring these people together to believe in him, to believe in what he's doing. And he's president, and you saying he didn't do anything. How do you reconcile that?
Look, this is the mystery that is Liberia. This man didn't do anything. This man did not promise Liberians anything. He didn't tell us that he was going. The only thing people said, the man had the country at heart. The only person said that the man suffered. He tried to get us in a couple of times, so it was his time. Let's try. He sent the book. People can make it. The word you're using now, intelligentsia. You got it from your man Kuni, and that word is a disservice to the reality on the ground. There's no intelligentsia in Liberia. The reality here is this, because even in the CDC, they put a support George Weah. They are all educated now. Most of them have gone to school. Some of them got masters. Some of them more than masters. So that word doesn't really hold. But anyways, I digress. The issue here is this. George Weah did nothing to frame CDC from the beginning to now. It was guys like Zakama, like Isaac Tokba, Toyua Harris, and you can just name them. They were the brains. Lafayette Good, what's his name? Jericho Bangaloo. Those guys are the people who taught this thing through. The worst thing about it, the present crew that is there, including McGee, they didn't do anything to deserve where they are today. The people who did the work and established and made sure CDC stand, they are all on the peripheral. None of them can come close to we are today. That shows to you that we are is a problematic individual. Because I don't care what happened between we are and Isaac Vatupa. We are supposed to be able to reach out to Isaac Vatupa. Because Isaac Vatupa was one of the brains behind we are being president today. It's just a reality. But like I said to you, the man is a flawed individual. He's
Okay,
so deep. He did it, Madam Salif. Let me tell you something before you tell me. President we are, Madam Salif, same difference.
Well, I beg to differ, but let's go to this here and see how did the CPP get here? Did it just get up one day and say, let's use the playbook of President George Weah? Obviously, you said we agree that none of the coalition in the past have ever been successful. And one man came that you said has no credential, has no ability, came and pulled it off. So they were trying to mimic. This is how fake the CPP is. They were trying to mimic President Weah's success. Like you say he did nothing. He was not the thinker. He was not an organizer. He's not a manager. Somebody else did the work. Then you have a group of people that call themselves CPP, like you guys. You have the intelligentsia class, people who are entitled to leadership in Liberia. Nobody else, if they don't lead, nobody else will lead. You came together, you put something together, and in few months, it's in shambles. It's in tatters. Pieces all over the place. Is this the future of, some people want to know, is this the future of the leadership that you are promising? That when you come together and you take state power, everything, there's going to be milk and honey in Liberia, there will be chicken in every pot. Everybody's going to be happy. Their suffering is going to go away. And here we are. Where is former Vice President Joseph Boyka that been in power almost a century? We want to let
he wasn't in power.
He's been around power for 50 years, 50.
In government, not in power.
Where is Joseph Boyka? What is the leadership? Is he a statesman as he's portraying himself to be? And if it's he, where is he when the house is on fire? The whole barn is on fire.
There's no fire. The fire is perceived. You expect. Let me say something to you. Where you see maturity, you expect Joe Boyka to be holding press conferences to address issues that should be done in the back room, so that he can be part of the group that watches the dirty clothes in the public. You gotta be strategic. You gotta think. And I will say this thing: George Weah hasn't pulled anything off. George Weah rode on the court of popularity. Let me say this again. If Madam Salif had done a very equitable job, not just a job, but a job that uplifts the hopes and the aspiration of every single individual in Liberia, not establishing a government of cleavages, right? That elevates one group over the interests of the rest of the people. If Madam Salif had done a very good job, George Weah would never be president in Liberia. Nobody would have given him the time of day. But the fact is, this is a woman who's put her fist in the air. People believe that she understood the pains of penury and abject poverty. People felt she knew what it is, the struggle in the gutters of Monrovia. People felt that way. This woman came, and all she did was to elevate a small group, okay, the entire resources of the entire nation, but for the aggrandizement and upliftment and the maintenance of a very small minority, as opposed to, so whatever came down was just a trickle-down effect. Little came to the people, but not focusing to improve the material well-being and daily of the Liberian people. If she had done an equitable job, I'm not saying a perfect job. No president can do a perfect job. But where the first thing, one of the things that Madam Sadi did and Joshua is doing, Mr. Gayman, if I may submit to you, Madam Sadi believe in lying to the Liberian people. The same thing she did, she got lobbyists in America to lobby for her, to launder her interests, to get all kinds of rewards that she did not deserve. The dishonesty. When was the time that Madam Sadi really took her time to speak to Liberian people at their level and make them to understand the sincere status of things in the country, what the people needed to do to join her to resolve the issues? Every time it was condescending, one condescending statement to the next. Now the difference is Joshua is not speaking, but he has lobbyists. The difference is Joshua is not speaking, but he's singing songs. They're chanting and dancing. That is something hitting you. So, but you expect a man like Buckeye to join that fray. That man is a diplomat. That man is an ambassador. That man is distinguished. That man is an honorable man. He doesn't talk carelessly. That's one thing I know about that man. That's why I can proudly call him my father any day, because I know what he stands for.
Mr. Tulay, I beg to differ with you, and I'm sorry that I got to bring your father into this here. But let me tell you how corrupt, insignificant, or failure Joseph Boyka is. I don't want to even go to Foya, his hometown. I won't even talk about Lofa. Boyka, people want to know whether he's the instigator here, or whether he is actually the beneficiary of this. Like you say, he's an old hands. He had the old hands, he been around for ages. When just imagine Joseph Boyka been in power about 40, 45 years. George Weah is just 55.
Why won't you use the right word?
What right word?
How could he have been in power? How could he have been in power for 40 years?
How could he have been in power for 40 years?
Yeah.
Boyka have been in power because he belongs to the old order. It's all about the in-group, like you say, a small group of folks that take the cake and give crumbs. And Joseph Boyka have been around getting crumbs for the rest of his, for the past 40 some more years. George, we are just turned 55. If he been to power about 45 years, George, we are 10. Basically, we would say a baby. When Joseph Boyka came into power, Joseph Boyka also became the president of the Senate. Okay, on which 68 concession agreement was signed, which he put on the floor to be voted on. And you heard what the international community said. 66 of the 68 community of the concession agreement was so flawed that it was criminal. And this was presided over by Joseph Yuma Boyka as president of the Senate for 12 years. Now let's go back to him about where is he. Some believe that he's actually instigating this to raise his profile.
Where's the evidence?
People think that he is actually a beneficiary of this nonsense that's going on.
Where is the evidence?
Excuse me?
Where is the evidence?
The evidence is his absence. Absence. His absence means
who told you he's absent?
In the old order we say what we say. They say silent means consent. And that's from his generation, from the old school. If Boyka knows that what is going on in this organization is bad, it's bad for the image of the organization, it's bad for the image personally of Cummings, Ure, Nyobli Kanga, obviously by extension himself, because he's part of this marriage, and he has done absolutely nothing. In fact, we were surprised today to hear that Cummings said that Boyka was one of those that were calling him to do devious stuff. In fact, and I will quote Cummings what he said. He said he wants change. He wants change. Things should never be as they've always been. And Joseph Boyka and the group told him Liberia will not change because Liberian people can't change. So he should not hurt his head to talk about changing stuff. Now here we are. The man has been in the background calling, making disparaging statements about other folks, People will say he's pushing, in Liberian terms, we say he's the guy who is pushing out the fire. He's instigating this to make himself look bad. But I know, and you know, that Joseph Boakai is as flawed as they come. Joseph Boakai was supposed to take over the leadership of the CPP 2 weeks ago. And yet, according to Cummings, Nyomli Kanga is still here speaking as the head of the CPP 2 weeks into Joseph Boakai's leadership. Mm-hmm. So Joseph Boakai is your father, as you call it, you can consider him your father. He as flawed as they come. He from the old school. He believes in political patronage. He believes in the largesse of the state. This man is as corrupt as they can come. In fact, John Molu called him.
Give us, don't just bend the words out there. Give us instances of his corruption.
Well, let's look at the rice project that he was supposed to oversee in Vanjima or in Lofa County. That, according to the papers, it was $30 million that was appropriated for that farm, including equipment, including land, including expertise. And this man did not have the courage to muster the manpower, the know-how to utilize that money. And today the caterpillars are over there. I guess the first time we can say Bucka Boy eating the metal. Bucka Boy eating the metal. So tell me how he is not benefiting from this nonsense.
Listen now, when you make statements that are categorically false, it's incumbent upon me. The onus is upon me to rectify that falsehood. Being chairman of ADA Lab did not give him, he was a non-administrative chairman. You know how these things work.
As he is now.
McIntosh, hold on now. When that McIntosh went and created his project, went and got his funding, came to Liberia, introduced the situation to the Liberian government. He had already gotten his funding from the Libyans, created his framework, asked the vice president to be the titular head or just figurehead chairman of the place. But he made all his administrative decisions. And at the end of the day, you are blaming a chairman for a place who had no administrative responsibility or authority. It wasn't like a government agency that the chair can go to the president and write a report. Even Madam Sally could not do anything to win that McIntosh, because ADA Lab had nothing to do with the government. That's what you should realize today. The only thing ADA Lab did to the government was the land that Agriminko had used in the 70s. That land is the same land that was a portion for ADA Lab to go back and refarm. The same land that Agriminko used in the 70s. And I've told you what Agriminko was. Liberian funded agricultural corporation. They brought in Israelis to run it. That land that they cleared, removed the stumps and everything, was the land that ADA Lab went to go. So they got he just like, okay, you my old man, talk to the president, we need this place to do this, and that was it, bro. I know ADA Lab. I'm not saying somebody told me. So this is a situation that I can educate any Liberian on.
Okay.
So I just want to say here that Joseph Boakai did not steal a dime from Wyndham McIntosh or from ADA Lab. He didn't take a dime. Wyndham McIntosh ran his project. The only thing, like I said, they used that land that government had used before, and that was it. These are the issues that we are talking about, because even then, me were here. I questioned them when they brought in Dodge Ram pickups. Dodge Ram pickups, everybody knows there's the new Dodge pickups now. The diesel have Cummins engines that are very durable. The Dodge pickups they brought were gas guzzlers. They use 55-gallon, one drum of gas just to get the fire. Okay, instead of McIntosh settling down for Ford Rangers or diesel Ford Rangers, buying it right in Liberia there, or Nissan or Toyota pickup, forget to go Toyota can be a little bit expensive. Go with the Ford Ranger, the Nissan pickup, find something like just transition you need. And this equipment, this John Deere equipment, even in this something, One of those things costs almost a million, some of them more than $1 million, some of them 500,000. I'm telling you today. Okay? For you to look at money, you could have done it in a better way. You could have gone to India or China and bought cheaper equipment to run the farm. So Joe Biden had nothing to do with that, all those administrative things. I'm telling you today. When the McIntosh had his project, he ran it the way he wanted to run it. So let's get that clear. But I will also say this again. Being the head of the Senate, I've said to you and anybody who will listen to me that Joseph Boakai was basically a spectator in Madam Selim's government. He was not part of the decision-making matrix. He wasn't part of the decision-making nexus. He had nothing to do with the only thing that Joseph Boakai would do that I knew about, apart from the fact that the agricultural concessions went to him. The only thing I know that he did for Madam Selim when she had issues with people, she leaned on him to be able to bring mediation and stuff. That was it. But she never had any use. He wasn't part of Madam Selim, never consulted him on her things that she did. And especially after 2011, because in 2011, she wanted him to leave the role so that she would appoint somebody, and he said no. Because he said no, and the people who supported him asked Jerome Bangalu, the people who supported him, Tano Maolo, Francis Kabash, that because of that, she fired Francis Kabash from NASCO. Because they stood behind the vice president and told him, do not agree. She wanted to give him some money for him to step aside. He refused. From that one part, he wasn't even parked car. Before you say he in the garage, they burned the garage down. So he was not even having place to park. To say you park in the garage, they burn the entire garage down. From 2011, he had nothing to do with governance. He was just there as a figurehead. So these are the realities.
So you are telling me that Joseph Boakai worked for the Liberian government in the vice presidency for 12 years, got $1.2 million annually for 12 years, and he claimed that he did absolutely nothing. He was a non-factor, and according to him, despite the allocations, all the money that was allocated towards him, he said he lived on loan. I live on loan. I live on loan. For 5 times, he said he lived on loan. How in the world do you expect us to believe that Joseph Boakai worked for the Liberian government for 12 years with over $1 million appropriated for his office for 12 years? And he claimed that he was a parked car in the garage. He had nothing to do, and he wouldn't do anything, but he never raised his voice once in the Senate to say, my conscience, out of my good conscience, I cannot accept to sit here and push through these concession agreements because they're against the Liberian people. He never stood up once to raise his voice to say, this one, I will take it on the chin for my Liberian people, for my own conscience, for my children, my grandchildren. And you're telling me here that he was a bad boy, he was a messenger, he was a mail carrier for the alien administration. You want us to believe that if that's the case, if that is spineless human being that you want us to lean on to lead us into the future?
You ever met Joel Howard Taylor before? You ever interacted with Joel Howard Taylor before?
Yes.
Is she spineless to you?
Joel Taylor?
Yeah.
No.
Is she spineless to you?
No, she's not.
Does she have anything to say in We Are in Government?
Yes, she just said one. She just said one 2 days ago.
What?
She spoke on public policy where she disagreed.
George, who told you Joseph Boakai never disagreed?
You never agree. You never did.
You established a 40 premise that I have to correct you again.
There you go.
The work of
you said. Hold
on. The work of the president of the Senate as the vice president. The vice president had nothing to do with Senate deliberations. I hope you know that.
Yes, he does.
So stop misinforming.
He is the president or the
the vice president, including Joel,
the Senate,
including Joel. She has nothing to do with Senate deliberations. The president pro tempore of the Senate presides over the Senate. The vice president is a tiebreaker. The vice president has nothing to do with Senate plenary or the convergence of Senate. He doesn't call the Senate together on a daily basis and say, hey, what? No. He's a figurehead, if you ask me. He's there And when they go, you expect in a situation where let me tell you how this mineral development agreements are signed or concession agreements are signed. Mr. Gayman, I'm sure you know, but some people in our audience will not know. The government, they have a ministerial committee for that purpose. They have a ministerial committee. Okay? And these guys, these guys are the ones, along with the people in the House, along with the National Investment Commission, along with the Ministry of Planning and Finance and whatever, that do their work. And then when the final bill is kind of put vote on the bill and everything, the vice president is only there to sign. He's not there to ask questions, to say, what did you do? That's why the president have appointed people, the Minister of Lands, Mines, and Energy, or the Minister of Agriculture in terms of agriculture concessions. They are there to do everything, the framework, until the government asks for the audit to be done. They did not know that those concession agreements were in contravention of the mineral development laws of Liberia. It was the audit that pointed those things out. The vice president does not have the staff to go out there and audit agreements. You'll be stepping out of his place. It's the legislative job, the legislature job. That's what they've been paid handsomely to ensure that before they affix the signature, after they vote, they all vote their conscience on these concession agreements. Before they assign their signature on it to send it for ratification to the president, that it meets the requirements. So don't hold Joseph Burger for that, man. Look, these are the things that people just bend it out there without really speaking the truth. You can blame Joseph Burger for anything else, but not those ones. You can blame Joel Howard Taylor for anything that comes to her desk. She doesn't have the right to go say she wants to audit any document the legislature sent to her. It's just a reality.
Okay, Mr. Tulay, I disagree with you, but let's take a few minutes break for station to identify itself. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Focus on Liberia's On Point. Mr. Tulay is off point today, but we'll live with that. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to On Point. With me is my co-host, Mr. Tulay, a member of the CPP by extension, and having a difficult time defending this monstrosity called CPP. Now, we're going to go to, before we go to our next subject, which is Monrovia, the dirtiest city. Let's briefly talk about, let's take 5 minutes and talk about, is this fiasco a reflection on Cummings? Is it a reflection on Joseph
No. The first thing you should be asking, is it a fiasco in the first place?
Well, listen to this. Is this a reflection on Cummings? Is this a reflection on URED, a reflection on Joseph Boakai, or the reflection on things to come? Real quick before we go to our next.
No, the reality here is this, we have a bunch of political actors, not the principals. The people who claiming to support this principle, most of them don't have any sense in their heads. That's just the reality. These men are principled men. These men are honorable men. The people who beneath them, who operating beneath them, are the ones that I'm disappointed in. Because let me say something to you. I'm from the old order myself, not in terms of age, but in terms of understanding. The reality here is, it's not everything a man can say And not every word that comes into anything that comes into a man's head, his mouth alters. That's impulsivity. That's why I have problem with my friend Henry Costa. You cannot be a leader of a people and you talk everything that comes into your head. You got to be able to weigh your words because words have consequences. There's no need for us to say we're part of a framework. And have you ever heard me? If you ask me today, I will tell you I support Joseph Boakai for presidency. Is he old? Yes, he's old. Can we have another choice? Yes, we can have another choice. Why my choice? Because I believe that he has the mental fortitude to arrest the free fall that Liberia is in right now. At least I can trust him because I know him. But will you ever hear me making disparaging comments against Cummings? I disagree with the things that he does. I won't. Because you know the reason why, and I've told a lot of them this. I even told people in the ANC this, that in case Cummings won the candidacy of the CPP, and you spend all the time getting to that point, insulting people and burning bridges, what phase will you go to stand in front of the same people and say, hey, I need your support? How can you do that? What phase will you have to stand before them and say, I need your support? So if you ask me, like I always say, this is my catchphrase. The people supporting Cummings, Boakai, whatever else, they need to chill and use wisdom. And also I will say this before we go forward. The reason why I support other candidates over George Weah, because these men know how things work. These men will not be relying on surrogates and stooges and cronies to do the administrative duties. These men will not be singing songs while Liberia language, while people are dying in poverty, people are dying from treatable diseases. These men will be hard at work. I may not support Kumi candidacy, but I will tell you, Kumi will not abdicate his role. Kumi will not sing songs. Kumi will work. He will do the work that Liberian people ask him to do. And that's just the reality.
Well, I know, George Tulay, you have always been a man of contradiction, and you just never cease to amaze me. You said Cummings or Ure or Boakai will not abrogate his administrative duty, yet and still Joseph Boakai have come to the leadership of the CPP. 3 weeks ago, he was supposed to take power, and today Nyobli Kanga is speaking on his behalf, making complete nonsense out of this whole thing, and you say he is not a man that will abrogate his duty, his administrative duty to somebody else. So you are a man of contradiction. But let's go to our last topipic here. I know you like to talk about this.
You will not go. You see, when you establish a 40 premium before you jump, I will correct you. Joseph Boakai have not assumed responsibility for the CPP leadership.
And I agree with you. After 3 weeks,
there's a reason why. There's
always a reason. That's lack of leadership. That's lack of leadership.
That's not leadership. When you don't, he can take from Yombli. When everything is scattered, let Yombli pour her file together and present them. She hasn't done that yet.
No. Mr. Tulay, don't go there. So when 2024 comes around, or 2029 comes around, and Mr. Weah is about to turn over, can Weah tell you, say, well, my term has expired, but since I have not done all my work,
you see,
that's faulted. That's faulted.
There's no
Let's
election
go to
yet.
our next topic here.
No, but there's no election yet.
Let's go to our next topic. Is Monrovia the dirtiest city in Africa? Can we prove that?
Monrovia, dirtiest, superlative to that degree. One of the dirtiest, I would say.
No, we're not saying one of the dirtiest.
No, you asked the question.
The ambassador said Monrovia was the dirtiest city. That's what the ambassador said. Is Monrovia the dirtiest city, Mr. Tulay?
What he said was subjective. He said in his view, this dirtiest city he has visited. You asking how many cities he visited?
He didn't say that. He didn't
what
say
if he visited? Hold on now. What if the cities he visited were Abuja, Abidjan, Johannesburg, the good part, not center, and places like Pretoria, Cape Town, Harare, Nairobi, Dar es Salaam, Egypt, Cairo, or Tunis, or Algiers, or even Morocco, what the place names like Casablanca or Rabat. Maybe those cities he visited. If you compare those cities to Liberia, then Liberia is the Monrovia is a village.
Listen, Mr. Tulay, don't try to wiggle your way out of it. The gentleman said Monrovia is the dirtiest city in Africa. That's what he said.
He said, I have visited.
He said what?
He said, I have visited.
No, I don't think that's what he
but
said.
That is a statement. He said, I have visited.
Listen, you are trying to
wiggle he said, I have visited.
Way out of here. The ambassador, if he said, if we have the statement of the ambassador, can we put it up, or can we put a retraction of the letter that he wrote, retracting what he said?
Retracting doesn't mean that the statement is false.
Of course it is false. Of course it is false.
No, it's not. He
did not. Listen, it was never meant that. Let me read to you.
Forget about reading that thing. Let's look at the facts. Forget about that man's statement.
We are looking at the facts. Let's look at the facts here.
Mr. Gayman, let me ask you one question. How many African cities have you visited?
Maybe 5.
Name them.
I visited Sierra Leone. I visited Accra. I visited I think Conakry.
All right.
And Cote d'Ivoire.
Right around the
West Africa. That's correct.
We have our viewers out there.
I stopped over in Bamako.
You stopped over. You didn't even get that.
No.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, if we ask our viewers out there who have been to these cities, none of these cities will be, quote unquote, a very clean city. But I will tell you one thing, that they all are over Monrovia. They are all very cleaner than Monrovia. Because all those cities you mentioned, I have been to all those cities. Okay, and I will tell you, all those cities are much more cleaner than Monrovia. Mr. Gayman, the problem is not only rested with the government. The problem with the dirtiness of Monrovia, it came from since 1990. I've said this thing to you severally. Mr. Gayman, I went to visit. Let me just say, we have our viewers. People take their time to listen to us. So I like to take my time to make sure that I respect their time by saying things to them that can be weighed and can be researched and can be checked. I may not always be right, but most of the time I try to get my stuff right because I know I'm speaking to people who got sense. The people know what's going on in Liberia. I went to visit a friend of mine, worked with the UN. He lives in Claratown. Built a nice small house right on the water. Called me one day, said, "Man, come and see me, man." I came from the radio station that day. I drove into Claratown. I was so angry because I washed my car. I had to go through the mud and all the water and everything, the dirty water, everything. I got to the place. I was shocked. The man got a nice little place that he fixed there. But bro, we sat out on the outside porch. It was time for the high tide. The tide was coming back in. It was tide time. Man, I was grossed out, Mr. Gayman. The quantity of feces on that Stockton Creek, Monterey River, Stockton Creek coming down like that, the quantity of feces. Look, man, I told myself I would never visit my friend because my stomach couldn't take it. Mr. Gayman, since the war, nobody, Manasari refused to even give the thing a thought. We're not piping water into Monrovia. I said something last time. One of my big brothers came to talk about a couple of things we have running conversation regarding. The reality is, we don't have a sewer treatment plant in Liberia, that one. The functional, we have one there, but it's broken. The second thing is, in Liberia, the people use the environment to ease themselves at their latrine. All along the Monserrato and the Stockton Creek, you have lavatories, toilets, all along, and people are just dropping raw waste into the environment. That alone makes our city repulsive. You were mentioning tourism the last time. We can't have tourism in our city with such amount, not just dirt. There's a difference between plastic and other things floating on the water. to real feces, bro. And then look at the government has not put together a solid waste management process. All across the city, you got heaps of garbage producing flies, cockroaches, and rats that go into people's homes and carry typhus and typhoid and all the other kind of diseases along with it. And you want to sit here and defend this thing? George Weah did not create the dirt, but George Weah refused to do something about the dirt. That's his only crime.
Listen, George, we are talking about objectivity here. Liberia is 200 years this year since the settlers landed on the island. We are 200 years in existence. Someone was debating today with me online, and we talked about the issues of Liberia, why we are where we are. And he was not as objective and politically true as you are. He said that it is the present folks that are running the country got the country dirty. And I asked him this. I said, tell me, if the city is dirty, does the city have people? And who are those? How did the dirt get here? The dirt didn't just get there. Somebody put it there. So for the city to be dirty, it says the people themselves are dirty people. And I gave him an example. He said when the settlers came, they came with ample knowledge and they had run the country effectively until 1980. And I had to remind him that we needed to take sentiment out of this and bring logic to it. So I went and I pulled up a listing of the settlers. When the ships came, it listed the names of the folks and their professions. And never on that list did we see city planners, did we see administrators, did we see architects, did we see engineers, did we see doctors and lawyers, but we saw things like seamstresses, we saw things like mason, craftsmen, handymen. So I am making the case, and I think I'm in line with you here at one point, that Liberia, the foundation, in fact, he and I had to remind him that when the Muslim Congress, when those young kids died in that particular fire in Monrovia maybe 2 years ago, the only fire engine that they had made their way towards that school. And because of the way the school was built, there were not even room enough for the fire truck to go between buildings to get to those kids. So we talk about city planning, we talk about code enforcement, you know about it and I know about it. And what I'm saying here is our foundation is so faulty that until somebody does something drastic, we are building in alleyways. We are building on top of buildings. No, we are talking about the dirt. Let's talk about the dirt. Let's talk. Excuse me. Let's talk about the dirt. You and I were discussing about the dirt in the city, and someone sent me something in the mail that the European Union gave Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government $10 million to build solid waste to do something about landfill. And then I pulled up the numbers about Flint, Michigan, a city of 444,000 compared to 1.5 million of Monrovia, a city that was built for 200,000 folks, now have 1.5 million folks. We are talking about a small space with uneducated, untrained people who came from everywhere else that were running from the war, that invaded Monrovia, used Monrovia. Basically, they were all squatters, used Monrovia as a safe haven. 20 years after the war, they cannot go back. Most of them don't know where they are coming from, so they are all over the place. We do not want to deal with these issues, but instead, it doesn't matter how many garbage trucks, it doesn't matter how many people you get sweeping the street. If our people are not educated, not only that, but we don't even have a landfill. The nation of Liberia does not even have a fitting landfill in Monrovia. I'm not talking about Salada where you come from or Basso
No,
where I
they
come
have a
from.
landfill in Monrovia.
What landfill that was
Went
built
down.
that was built for 1.5 million people?
No, it's still, the fact is it's there. It's went down. It's there. It's operational.
The landfill in winter is adequate to handle
It's
1.5 million
operational.
people.
It may not be as adequate
But
as
that's
you
the
guys
point.
asked
This is
for,
what we
but
are talking
no,
about.
No. When you say it's not there, it means it doesn't exist at all. Like I had to qualify my statement. We do have a sewage treatment plant, but it's not functional. So we have to qualify our statement. The landfill is there. It's at one time.
Mr. Tulay, if I have a car, let's go back to the Joseph Boyka thing. I have a car parked in the garage that is not working, have never run.
You still have a car.
Do you have a car?
You have a car. You have a broken down car.
I rest my case. So
But
if that's the case, then we have sewage management.
If you do not
we have a waste management system.
Can I talk now?
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you have that car and it breaks down, you put it in the garage, and you do not, like if you live in the state of Maryland where I used to live, and you don't tell the people that my car is broken down, you understand what I'm saying? They will expect you to register it. If you don't register it, they will fine you. If your insurance lapses, if you don't tell the insurance my car is broken down, the insurance will expect you to keep making payments. You do have a car, but the fact is the car is broken. Let me come into to contribute to this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my eyes itching. Mr. Gayman, we are not saying that George Weah is responsible for the overpopulation of the city and all of that. No. But there is something about leadership. There is something about leadership. Leadership does not make excuses. Leadership takes responsibility, and leadership fixes problems. Leadership is also holistic. For a country like Liberia, you need a leader who knows how things work, who have a working idea on everything that has to do with governance. It's an imperative. Otherwise, you will have what we have in Liberia today. Where they do everything they know, no. But guess what? It is even worse not to know what to do and not to do it. You see, when you deal with her, Madam Salif, she knows what to do, but she's not doing everything, she's doing some. So we take it from that perspective. She can go to the national community and they can get Zoom Lion to come and mess things up and say they are how you call it, they are fulfilling a waste solid waste treatment contract and leave nothing behind for the people to inherit at the end of the project. That's not a contract. Where am I going with this? George Weah is the president today. Madam Salif is no longer president of Liberia. Joe Barker, Ellis Cummings, they are not president of Liberia. The man with the gavel, the man with the checkbook, the man with the authority is George Weah. The toilet that is in the street, if I sit down and I watch George Weah, the toilet in the street, and I say, Joe Barker, come there. Joe Barker comes there, he must have a solution for that toilet. It shouldn't continue running in the major streets next to the center of commerce, next to the finance ministry. You got raw feces running in the street. Up to now, Madam Salif did not prioritize piping water into the city. Till today, they don't have water being piped into the city. You cannot have a sewer line being flowing without water being piped into the city. They will clog. In Monrovia, the people use very little amounts of water to flush down waste. You know what happened? It turns to sludge instead of slurry. It should be a slurry. It should be a free-flowing mixture. I worked in sewage treatment plants in Canada here. All across Ontario. Water treatment was sewage treatment plant, the company I worked for. That's what we did. We had the contracts to change the under drain, to modernize these things, some of them older than 100 years, or including the one for the city of Toronto. We had a contract to go and to change the under drain, the filtration system for both sewage and or how you call it, water treatment plants. The volume of water being pumped into the sewer treatment plant, along with what comes through the lines, is now a small amount of water, Mr. Gayman. We're talking about so much water. You must have the pumps at St. Paul, pumping Monrovia. That thing should be a slurry. It should be a mixture, free-flowing mixture. It's a sludge. It's heavy. If you put a pump at Fiamma and you do not run water into the city center, it will kill the vacuum pump. They will run hot and they will damage. They'll be damaged. See, there are some things that we just have to prioritize, Mr. Gayman. Forget about, because that one is a little bit difficult. So let's look at a couple of things we could do. The first thing, we will enact an ordinance and stop people from using the Dew River, the Monterey River, the Mentorado River rather, and the Stockton Creek as latrine. I told you this thing before. Government needs to go out there and find enterprise funding to build low-cost housing along the St. Paul River, on the other side of the St. Paul River, on the west side of the St. Paul River. We're talking about Clay Ashland, Arlington, Virginia. There are acreage lying fallow over there. Some of them owners in America own 100 acres, 500 acres, 1,000 acres. They're selling it piecemeal. Government's supposed to use the law of eminent domain, buy those lands, and build functional human habitation. Yeah, hold on, guys. Functional human habitation in those places. Then move the people who are living along from West Point and move them over there. Those who can afford it, give them the low-cost housing. Close down West Point, close down Claratown. Stop people from polluting the environment. We're talking about tourism here, Mr. Gayman. Stop people from polluting the environment. And then also, again, you don't need to collect garbage from within the places, because we don't have the city set up like that. We don't have homes set up like that. It should be a function of service delivery issue. Go to China, get these trucks. How you call it? These garbage trucks that carry the beam that hangs on the back. We don't use them here like that. We don't use them for construction and other things like that. People throw stuff into them and then they move them and throw them away. You can drop, like they did in Accra. They do it in Accra. They have places to drop these things. Then you just go and throw your stuff there. Every other day, the people come and take it, go empty it, and come and replace it. Take it, go empty it, and come and replace it. That helps to take, because when people live, people create dirt. It's just one of the byproducts of life. So the dirt is not just via creation, but the lack of the system. 3 years running, there should be no excuses now. They should come up with a policy. Go out there. Let me tell you something, Mr. Gayman. If these guys got their acts together and they dealt with criminality, they dealt with corruption, the international community saw that these guys were serious in fighting corruption and graft in Liberia. When they take anything out to the international community, they will listen to them. But let me say this before you come in. Liberia is like this. You have a brother who works, but he uses his money to chase women and drink beer. At the beginning of the school year, he comes to you for you to help him pay his children's school fees. But he's working and he's doing jolly with his money. That's Liberia. That's how we are to the international community. These guys come. The offices our ministers and our functionaries sit in are better than the offices that they sit in from where they come from. But then we are begging them to give us money to take care of our responsibility. Aren't we being so irresponsible and insulting to ourselves? It's just the reality.
Okay.
Before you come in, the water and sewer, one of the water and sewer managing director doing Julie Bryan time, Mr. Gayman, the guy fixed his office with red carpet. Mr. Gayman, the man spent money on the office. Okay? At that time, the water and sewer had nothing. The man spent money on the office. One person from the EU came, went to that office, and the man went to say, the people are not serious. They're begging us for money, but see how they sit. The office is an insult to anybody coming to that office who you begging for money. Donors come and they sit with you, and the people look at it and think, even chief executives don't sit in our office easily abroad. That's the kind of money the guy spent on the office. Why? You see, so we have to get our acts together.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to On Point. We have been discussing issues affecting our country, from the opposition, from the fiasco that's going on, to issues affecting our daily lives, especially when your stranger comes into your home and tells you that you are dirty, that your house is dirty. It says something about who we are as a people. Somebody said the marketeers, they pay a small fee to the marketing association to clean up, to do things that they are not allowed to do as a group. But yet and still, because the marketing association is supposed to clean up, people just take their waste and just dump it on the street, not even in a canister or in a basket. They just dump it on the street. I have seen people, when I'm in Monrovia, they drink from the plastic bag, not because the city will be cleaning it up, that you just drop it. So it takes a whole different orientation, a different education for us to do what we're supposed to do as a people. Cleanliness starts from your home and your churches and your sororities and your fraternities. It is not the government's job to come to your house to clean. It's not a government's job to tell you that sanitation is vital to our well-being, to your safety. With that being said, let's go to some of your comments because we got to go here.
But Mr. Gayman, go to the comments. It's not the government can clean the house up, but the government can collect the trash. It's the government's responsibility everywhere to make sure that trash that the person clean from the house does not stay with the person.
But
otherwise, the person will end up throwing in the environment.
Listen to this. We have agreed that there has to be, there are supposed to be civic responsibility. There are those that came from up country that know absolutely nothing about. I mean, they were talking to somebody the last time on, I think it was the Liberian News Agency, and they asked the lady, how do you get rid of your garbage? She said, I bury them. So she goes into her yard, dig, instead of buying or going to the ministry and getting something, he goes and then she goes and then buries her dirt. Without knowing that, without knowing that it has an adverse impact on the community, she thinks she's getting rid of the dirt in her mind. But let's go to the comment section here, and you can respond before we go.
The question is, where is she going to put it?
Let's go to the comment section, please. We have any comments? Mr. Tulay, go ahead, read.
Tulay, I like some of your comments, but I disagree with your support for JBN and for president. He does not have the energy and leadership skills to lead the Liberian people. Example, he has not demonstrated leadership skill in the FA saga as the oldest man
in the CPP
framework agreement, saga in the oldest man in the CPP. Well, the good thing about it is what I call anyway, let's move on. you have feces running all your major streets in Monrovia, from Camp Johnson Road to Newport Street. Hard feces running, water running everywhere. I will call the name that is that Abraham Deyuga. Look at my brother here. What do you want to defend here, oh man? Like you talking to Tulay really knows Randall Thomas. Tulay really knows what he's talking about. He got his stuff at the fingertips. All right, thank you, sir. Darling, why would the capital has to be relocated? Monrovia needs to be demolished. Monrovia is unhealthy for human life. It's the reality. That city dirty. Oh, the rats and oh no. You haven't gone past the mean thoroughfares. Just go in the back there. Go Macklin Street, Kerry Street. Go and see the feces. The people. It's okay. Just stop justifying our challenges by our past. With that argument, you will never move forward. Terrence Stewart. That's just the reality. You can't move. We don't need to justify anything. Leadership strategize and plan and work towards execution. Darling Wildwood again is the reality. Francis C. Wilson, Mr. Gayman, be mature enough to reason like an adult. You've been harmed, Baby. Now we had a clean, functional city in the 60s, 70s, 24/7 electricity, garbage pickup, etc. So to repeat this lying mantra Ever since 1847, the country been like this.
Let me
It's
let
a
me
lie.
let me
But
respond
it's a
to that.
lie. The woman
Let
telling
me
you that you're not talking the truth.
no, there you go.
Yeah, I agree with her.
Wilson, you had a city in the 60s and 70s. Monrovia had less than 100,000 folks, so it was easier to clean, to maintain. You are talking go from 100,000 to 1.5 million. You will see how that number has expanded. It's all about human capital. It's about human occupying space.
It's also about the heart to get it done.
Well, guess what? We got Henrietta Coney Morgan.
I hate to hear
people saying that
go
it
ahead.
is the old age problem. There's no need for us to be a part of modern technology. People just hate the truth. Our city is dirty. Put the right people in charge, like Mary Broad, trust me, you will get results. Listen, my sister, let's go to the next one. Monrovia is the dirtiest city in Africa, period. Waste management always been a problem for over 3 decades. I would say it's even more than that. It's just not 3 decades because
no, it is. It became worse after the war.
Of course, because after the war, you had a migration. Everybody, Liberia problem is lack of patriotism. Well, that's true, but
Emmanuel Thier.
Yeah, Emmanuel Thier. We have Morgan against stop this country thing, my dear. The people up country are clean. Let the government enforce the law. Get rid of mischief. Abandoned building in the city. This is what we are talking about. You got people who are squatting from everywhere else that government can't even account
that
for.
state doesn't stop you from
why Mr. Soma, why Unity Party they didn't locate the city 12 years after receiving over $13 billion in aid. So, I agree with you. When money was flowing in from all over the world, we didn't do that. Okay, Mr. 12, what kind of justification is that? I don't know what he's talking about. Tier, Liberia problem is lack of patriotism. Okay,
because of time,
patriotism. Duna Gayman is not real. He is a fake Liberian. Monrovia is dirty. Yeah, obviously, I haven't adopted it. He's right. Mr. Tulay, it looks like listen to this, it looks like all Liberians agree. And I think 2004, just before we go to your closing statement, I was in Monrovia with the U.S. ambassador and the representative from the U.S. We went to meet with the ambassador. And what this lady said was, she stood on the second floor of the embassy and we looked down over the city. And she told the ambassador, was John Blaney at the time, said, Ambassador, from what I'm seeing, she said, I have taken pictures from the airport all the way here. I've seen the garbage and the debris all over the city. Said the infrastructure of the city is so old, sometimes it just doesn't make sense to repair this city. They will spend more money. And she said, I would suggest, she said, have you ever talked to the Liberian government that maybe they should look at removing the city, use this maybe as a commercial city and then rebuild something small as a capital city that's well planned? And the ambassador had no clue. He knew what she was talking about, but he had no idea. And I don't think he was interested. The reason I'm saying that is, if the EU knows to build a complete garbage disposal waste pro after waste pro here in Canada and Liberia and the United States, that we would need maybe $1 to $2 billion to build a good infrastructure, waterways and landfill where we can turn our garbage into energy. They know this. You know this. You and I look at the figure. But
no, it's not 1.5. I disagree with that figure.
Okay, listen to the. That's
$1 billion. $500,000.
Mr. Tulay, you are out of your mind. But that's another discussion. To build or to build a water system, a garbage or solid waste system for a city of 1.5 million to 500,000, you are delusional.
No,
go to your closing statement, my brother. Let's go.
Million.
We are over. We are past our time. Go ahead with your closing statement.
Yeah, all we gotta do is to re-dig. Some of the lines are not clogged. Those pipes are too big to be clogged. Some of them are 2 feet, some of them 3 feet. They're too big to be clogged. Some of those pipes are not clogged. Some of them have sediments and certain percentage of the pipes. And with the steady flow of water, it will dislodge those sediments with time. I am saying that we can get this done, but we need to start. The first thing the government needs to do, there are a couple of things that need to be done. For the entire Monrovia, maybe you need a fleet of like 30 trucks. These short trucks, looking at them, they each may cost, if you use Chinese trucks, good Chinese trucks, which are Mercedes engine trucks, will cost us around maybe 100,000 or let's just say 140 a piece brand new. With the attachments and everything behind it. Around 140. Chinese trucks are cheap. We can get 20 of those trucks. That's just what we need to start off with the beans and drop the beans all over the city. But the biggest problem, the biggest hindrance I see to that right now, to start removing, would be to relocate Town to a bigger space, the landfill thing you talk about, to a bigger space with the right mechanism in where you can capture the methane and create natural gas out of it at that spot. We need a bigger spot to choose. But what will hamper it as things are right now is the lack of roads that access the city. All the roads that access the city are only 2 lanes. Those trucks will be stuck in traffic so much it will hamper the collection of garbage. 20 trucks. Monrovia is not very big. From Broad Street to Red Light, it's not, I don't think it's even 20 miles. It's not even, they just say around 15 to 16 miles. Broad Street to Red Light can be more than 15, 16 miles. So Monrovia is now a very big city, but the traffic congestion. So what government needs to do, start first at home. The major routes, EAW road, dualize it, make it 4 lanes separate. The road going to Broadville, through Broadville to Race, make it 4 lane. Just about 20 miles. It's enough for now. 20 so, another 20 on this side, another 20 on that side, and another 20 going on that side. That's all government needs to do. 20, 20, 20. Because there are only 3 major routes we're talking about here. 20, 20, 20. Just 20 miles, 20 miles, 20 miles. It will ease the stress in the city. People will be able to go out there and they will be able to live their lives and everything. Then those trucks will be able to move those bins in and out of the city quickly and replace them so that we can start taking care of the refuse so that people wake up when the bin is placed. When you sweep your yard, you bring the dirt, you dump it in the bin. So communities will have bins. So maybe we have like 1,000 bins on a rotational basis. The trucks moving bins, they got their schedule, they know where they're going from each day. Everybody have their zone that they are working in, making sure if a truck is assigned 100 beans or 50 beans, that guy know this week I'm assigned 50 beans, but I pick them up daily like this, and the beans are large. We do that. We must invest, buying cars, traveling with huge crews to international community meetings. All these things, wasting money on things that are not necessity. This is where maturity, austerity measures, this is where leadership really comes in. Okay, don't buy American trucks, they're expensive. Go to China, even beg the Chinese people. They are someone that is their bilateral agreement and stuff like that. They could look at you and give you 50 of those garbage trucks for you to come and clean the city. Mr. Gayman, let me say this. If you start cutting out the dirt, taking out the dirt, let's say all the market area got 2 trucks each, moving deck out the beams. As the beams get full, they get taken out. The beams get full. You got people on motorbike doing the monitoring evaluation, making sure the beams, people not throwing the garbage on the ground. You got trucks. You got bulldozers that can go anywhere in the city and clean up, Mr. Gayman. And then you encourage the people. You educate them. You sensitize them. You plead to their conscience. When Bian Kesari got ready, he wanted to clean the beaches in Monrovia. He cleaned the beaches, and they made it illegal for somebody to go on some of the beaches to toilet. They cleaned the beaches, and the people in the community became the policemen for the beaches. It can work, Mr. Gayman, but guess what? Making excuses and saying Liberia being like this. Liberia was a functional society by 1979. I'm saying this to you in all unequivocally clear that Liberia was a functional society by 1979. Where we are today, we are a far cry from there. And the only way we can be able to recover and make use of ourselves and do something that we can leave a posterity for our children to inherit is we'll be honest with ourselves and say, if you choose leadership and you get leadership, then do the work that leadership requires. That's all we are saying.
Okay, Mr. Tulay, thank you very much for that closing remark. I want to let you know that one of the issues that face Liberia is not basically collecting garbage. First of all, it's city planning. I have a home, in a place called Tinker Village in Monrovia, and getting to my house, my car could hardly get to my house because of the way the building material, the way the building codes or lack of building codes are. There is no way a small car that cannot get to my house will have a garbage truck getting into Tinker Village, into the place where I live, or into West Point. There has to be a way. The only way that I see, because there are people that are collecting dirt, that have bins, that have to take their bins because the truck cannot get near them, or the cars cannot get near them. Bin has to be taken miles to the nearest road. These are impediments, these are facts. We don't have city planning. I live in a small city right outside of Miami here, where we have 50,000 people in our place. We have 67 trucks. And this is a planned city. You are talking about city half of Miami-Dade, 1.5 million estimated. Some people say more than that. 1.5 million people in a condensed space where there are no facilities, there are no infrastructure development, there are no roads. We have a major problem. Like they say in America, Houston, we have problem. Yes. But coming back to the dirtiest city here, I'm looking at Google here. The dirtiest city in Africa, in West Africa, actually in Africa, is Bamako, Mali, followed by Sibuken, South Africa, and all 59.8% grading, Accra, Ghana. Those are the top three. We talk about pollution. We're talking about dirt. We're not saying they're not doing anything about it, but like you said, the ambassador said, in his opinion, if that is the case, then we gave him a break, but he wasn't looking at the data. Because this data, they are looking at pollution, they're looking at wastewater management, they're looking at everything else.
Well, you don't have any of those.
But listen to this.
I got every one of those, but you don't
listen to this. Listen to this. In so saying, we all know, we just looked at the water system, the water pipe system being replaced in Flint, Michigan. It was $1.6 billion to replace a small city as that. So what we are saying here, Monrovia, Liberia needs a water system. We need a wastewater system. We need garbage system. We need a donor conference to give us about $1 to $1.5 billion, not to repair, but to rebuild the entire structure. With that, I would say thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for participating. As always, we end our show by saying we are all Liberians, whether you are opposition, in position, no position, whether you support Joseph Boykai, CPP, or the dynamic CDC, you are still Liberian. This is our problem. We have to solve it together. We have to synthesize our families. We have to talk. But cleanliness is next to godliness. God bless.
Before we go, let me just say something, Mr. Gayman. Sorry, well, because today is Sunday and nobody coming after us. Let me just say this, Mr. Gayman. Some things we can politicize. Some things we just speak the truth, and we encourage the people who in power to think outside the box. Get outside the comfort zone, the air-conditioned car, the riding and whatever, and do something that can leave a lasting legacy. Let people praise you. Not you praising yourself or your people around you who are collecting money from the salaries that you pay them or whatever you get them big fire government jobs to sing your praises. No. You want to know, Mr. President, anybody else, if people really like you, go to the market and just say, man, speak to me frankly. Tell me what's going on. I don't want to hear what you're going on. You will get frank assessment of what your government is. The reality here, Mr. Gayman, Tinker Village and other places, the people got local areas they can throw their trash. Every now and then, we can find a way there and use bulldozers and bulldoze the trash out of those places. The reality, what we need to focus on is the populated areas that have access. We need to drop beans in those areas to start taking the trash so that the trash can be piling up and making a nuisance in the community. These things we don't need donor conference for. What we need to do, Mr. Gayman, don't go beg for money if you don't put your house in order. That is one of the things I want to say.
Mr. Tulay, we got to go. Thank you very much.
Right.
As always, we all Liberian. We end with our music. Thank you very much. And we'll be here next Sunday at 4 o'clock.
All right.
We are Liberian.